Hi, this is Natalie Callback, and for Creative Jumpstart, I'm super happy to have Carolyn Dube with me today. She's one of our teachers, and I cannot wait to see what she's doing with our theme, What's Cooking. And so, hello, Carolyn, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
So good to have you. I met Carolyn this year, actually for the first time. I think it was in April. We have known each other online for a while. And so I was super excited when we both were teaching at an art retreat called Art Escape in Ohio. And that's where we finally met, and we had a really great talk. And I love what she's doing. I love her approach and her colorful, bubbly self. And so I'm super excited to have her. But that's what I can tell you about Caroline. Let's see what she's going to tell us about herself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your artwork.
Okay, so boy, this is the hardest question ever to answer. So basically, I used to do rubber stamping like when I was in high school and college. And throughout my entire life, there's always been that creative thread or vein that kept popping up. And eventually, I just couldn't really ignore it anymore. And part of what led to that is, my family will attest to this, is I was wound just a little tightly when I was younger. And it got to the point where stress was just kind of off the charts. And really, it was ridiculous. And I found that art and play helped me take that stress down a notch. And I had fun, and that just was sort of the gateway for me when I realized I'm happier when I make art. Oh, and so that just one thing led to another. But I'm completely self-taught, and I don't like reading directions or following rules. So, I'll buy something like, I don't know, too many. That's fine. On bottles they put fine print. Hello, I'm not reading that. And so I'll just start doing stuff, and this is sort of where it's led me. And I found out a lot about myself along the way. And I just didn't realize what I was learning. Like I used to, when I play around with colors, I liked them, but I didn't quite realize how much I liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally embraced and went, I don't like brown. I'm done with brown. And I had all these brown paint bottles, and I got rid of them. And I kind of haven't looked back. And I'm like, oh, I can just like something because I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And so it's just kind of evolved, and some days it's a hot mess, and I just make the ugliest stuff. And other days it's wonderful and amazing, but no matter how it turns out, I'm always having fun. Like it's just to get my hands in it, it just feels good. So that's really how my play came about, and most of what you see is me just having fun with color.
That's awesome. And I know that you also you teach, and you have your own stencils with Stencil Girl products. Yay! We love that company. It's one of our sponsors for Creative Jumpstart as every year. So, it's really fun that you say you're self-taught as well. And you don't read directions, which I find funny because I read them and then I don't care, but it's almost as I could just skip that step, I guess. But, so when you say self-taught, how did you get into it? Did you and you don't read directions, so you just tried things out, or how did it come to it?
Well, so it originally started. So so many things were a gateway for me.
Mm-hmm.
So at Michael's, I've done everything up the aisles of Michael's. If they came out with it, by golly, I used that coupon, I bought it, and I tried it. And some things were a horrific fail in 3 minutes or less. I love yarns and fibers, but I can't knit or crochet at all. I mean, my daughter does it, and she's tried to teach. And I mean, the muscle memory is ridiculous. I'm like, what? She's like, Mom, it's a simple chain stitch. And I just can't connect it. And it frustrated me. And there's you really have to sort of count your stitch. I'm like, not my thing. But I would try anything. And it was justified because, it's somebody's birthday. I'll learn how to make cakes and do their little cake decorating. Oh, we need a wreath for the front door, so I'll learn how to make wreaths. Oh, we need a birthday gift. And everything had this purpose to it. There was one aisle that I didn't buy a lot of stuff from, and that was the paint aisle. Because what's the purpose? I mean, if you buy the little craft paints to do it, but
right.
the art fine art section. Like, what do you do with that? What's the purpose? And I spent a lot of years, I would only be creative when there was a purpose. I made scrapbooks because it was for the kids. It was, all that kind of stuff. And one day I kind of went, I think I want to try some of this stuff. And it was very confusing. There are all these names and labels of everything, and it's this medium, and the paints had all these funny names, and it's a heavy body, and it's a fluid, and it's a soft body. I'm going, it's blue. I like blue. And I just started picking different things and trying them and mixing them. And it's not like this was chemistry. It wasn't like I was making nitroglycerin. I thought it was going to blow up. And I would just kind of play with it. And some things I liked and some things I didn't. And many a thing got donated away because I didn't get into it. But it was a giant experiment of just one. And it was not a sudden choice. It was just gradual. All of a sudden everybody was like, oh, here I am. Okay. And so I will just try just about anything out of curiosity. And when I was a kid, my grandmother had a white living room. And dumbest thing. I mean, I'm sorry if anybody has a white living room. I'm so sorry that I said that. But gosh, it was covered in plastic, and we weren't allowed in the thing, except for like Christmas. And so, the room was always pristine white, nobody could touch. And so, of course, Grandma passes away, and now who wants the white furniture? Nobody.
Exactly.
No, and nobody wanted that, but it was perfect. I'm like, it would have been better to have been used up and loved, had a life, and so that really helped me with art supplies of, so what if I ruin it? Okay. I mean, I will admit, it's not like I'm playing with platinum and gold.
Right.
I mean, it's a tube of paint, it's paper. Like,
right.
Let it rip.
Yeah.
And so,
that's actually my approach too, and that resonates a lot with me. Actually, what you said about purpose, that's so true to me, because sometimes people say, let's say you do an art journal, like course or whatever, and then people say, can we see the finished project? We want to have it in the store. And then I feel like bad telling the store, there's no real thing that I can send you, and then I don't want people to think that's exactly what we're gonna do. Or you say, what's the purpose of that course? Like, what's the project? And I think it's so funny, because for me, the purpose is doing something creative and playing, and the time you spend being creative, that's the purpose. It's not having a wall hanging, or, it's great if you have a nice canvas or a painting, of course, that is sometimes the goal, right? But the purpose is having a great time and being at one with yourself, and not thinking about perfection and not thinking about the outcome, and just let yourself go. And it's true, we are very purpose-ridden in everything that we do, right? It's like, but if someone asks you, so why did you watch that movie? What's the purpose? You just wanted to have a good time by watching the movie, and 99% of the time, right? Or reading a book. I mean, unless it's like a certain nonfiction book. But what's the purpose of reading a book? You wanted to have a good time. What's the purpose of doing art or crafts? You want to have a good time. So yeah, I totally agree. I love that. Cool. So I do ask this question almost everyone. And it's self-serving, because as you know, I had a book coming out, and it's called Artful Adventures in Mixed Media. So one of my questions is always because I love that we're all in some sort of adventure, right? So you're on an adventure right now with the art you're doing and teaching and everything. But if you had no obstacles, time, money, even the time you're living in, everything, yeah, right space, whatever, was no obstacle, what would you like to do to go on an artful adventure?
Now, no obstacles.
No obstacles.
No obstacles. It would be to go and hang out with Matisse and Picasso. Those two, they're dynamic, how they interacted. They hated each other. They loved each other. They stole ideas from each other. They encouraged each other. How they went about it. I mean, it's their insecurities, their doubts, the battles that they went through, because every artist, everybody that creates goes through all that stuff. And there's such a mystique around Picasso and Matisse. I mean, they're incredible. I mean, they're legends. Right. and to see them as humans, to really see those interactions,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do that.
So you would be like an assistant or something?
Sure, I'd be anything. I'd scrub the toilet, anything, just to be a fly on the wall and
Mm-hmm.
watch them. And I think of all the way both of them changed and developed so much through their careers, and where did their inspiration come from, and how did they tweak it?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they totally stole each other's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
They were constantly doing that, and it was fueling them, and it was charging them up, and they were critiquing each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they really helped each other grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that dynamic, and we only know the little bits and pieces.
Right.
That I would love to have a reality show going of watching them in action. Oh, keeping up with Picasso, yeah.
Ooh, I like that up. Keeping up with Picasso. That's a good one. That's a good show.
I think it would be, but
Yeah, I know. But we said no obstacles, so we can
You
dream,
said no obstacles,
right?
so.
Perfect. I love that one. I might want to join you on that one.
Okay, there's plenty of room in my imagination. Come on now.
I just think like we would be probably Picasso would be very mean to us because he was not a nice person as far as we know, and Matisse probably would be like hard to deal with on the female thing side. But I'm fine. I could be a moose. I'm fine. There you go, right? I think like it's so interesting just for me, like thinking about those guys and how they, like how women were in that. Oops, are you still there? Sorry, I hit the button. I will cut that out. I was just thinking about it, like how they treated women and like female artists in that time, and that it's such a man's world, which is so interesting. And in one way, I'm like, I would have loved to be part of that or hear about it and everything. And on the other hand, it's just so interesting for me that it's such a guy thing, such a macho thing.
Imagine how we could shake it up if we went back there and just kind of went, hey.
They would be like, go in your time machine and go back where you were. We don't want you here. Don't shake this up for us,
That would make it even more fun.
It would make it fun. That's true. So, Creative Jumpstart this year is about kind of like mixed media art recipes and like what's cooking. So, I don't know, for those people that haven't been part of Creative Jumpstart, this is now in the 7th year. I always give a very loose theme. So, basically, what I'm telling you right now is basically what my teachers for this year know as well. It's not that I said, okay, you have to have like a project or, it's kind of like, it's just a starting point. So I'm saying, okay, what's cooking? Think about mixed media art. What's a recipe for something that's successful for you? Go, share. That's all I'm telling them this year, right? So it's a very loose thing. But when I was reading a little bit more about you, I had no clue. I actually read in your bio that you used to own a restaurant with your husband. And I was like, whoa. So that is actually really funny. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it came about, my husband and I met in college. We were both working at a pizza place. And so, fast forward, graduate. He doesn't really like his job. I really can't find a real job. And an option for a restaurant came along. And it was, they were shutting down for a reason. But we said, hey, we've worked in a restaurant for a year or two. Sure, we can run one. And to anybody that's run a restaurant, just kind of roll your eyes and go, uh-huh. And so we jumped in and we restructured it, and it was a pizza restaurant, and we did it for 7 years.
Wow.
And we learned a whole lot of stuff.
I bet.
But yeah, that's part of what led to me being very uptight and wound and stressed.
But I think when I was reading that, and I read some other things that you did throughout your life, so check out Caroline's bio, is that I kind of like thought, it kind of fits that you do art now. It's kind of like you are always been an adventurous, at least when I read it, like there is a constant thing in your life, and that is actually change and trying new things, I guess, right?
It is, and looking, now that I can look back, hindsight is so much nicer. And like one of the things we had is the previous owner bought their dough pre-made, and then you'd roll it. We actually would hand toss it and that kind of thing, and that was how they had done it. And I'm like, but I don't like that. I don't want it that way. We need our own dough.
Mm-hmm.
Know how to make. I mean, how do you make dough? I'm like, I don't know. We got to buy this mixer. I buy the mixer. I'm like, oh, it has a different plug. I have to get an electrician now to plug. Okay, because I didn't know about multi-phase. It's a mixer. I thought you just plug it in. And so the whole thing was this just one thing after another. And so then I'm like, okay, we need a dough recipe. How hard can this be? Okay, well, baking is like astrophysics for the kitchen.
Right.
And so, I'm making these 10-pound batches of dough, and like 1 teaspoon of sugar would mess it up. I mean, like, it did not take much to, and so I'm just like, and it took, so many batches of dough, but it was just that experimentation of like, well, how hard can this be? This should work. And it's problem solving. It's, why doesn't this work? Or that tastes wrong.
Right.
Or worked and all that kind of stuff. And that even once I thought I found the answer, just so everybody knows, for pizza dough, you have to babysit that stuff. Oh, it's high maintenance. Because if it's the humidity changes, you have to let it proof and rise and all this stuff. So there's a lot that went into that. But it was constant problem solving. Mm-hmm. And that's really what art is. Yeah. Do I like this? Yes. I know I don't like that. Okay. How do we solve that?
Right.
So there's been that's been one of those threads through a lot of it, is just that, well, it should work. Why not?
Right.
Okay. I mean, by all logic, 50% of businesses fail in the first year, the restaurants, and we should have been shut down. And, we were us, and we had like 1 employee. And we'd grow, just all the adventures, but it was really like, this should work. Okay.
That's funny. That sounds awesome, and that brings me actually to another question. I also teach a course right now that's also called What's Cooking. See, I don't have many really new ideas sometimes. I just realized that. But what I ask people and what I was thinking about is like, is there like a thread where you could say, how do you cook? Like, are you like the Muppet Show cook who's going like smørrebrød, rum dum dum dum, or then you throw everything in? I mean, we realized now that we're a little bit thinking about all the baking stuff, but we're at cooking right now, not baking. Let's put it that way, right? Or you are like super organized and you chop everything up front, and you have like little bowls, and it's more like a kitchen shop. Like, how would you describe how you cook?
So the way that we cook, so I came up with the dough recipe, but then I never made the dough again because I don't like to follow recipes. I could create the recipe. Now my husband, he needs recipes. He loves a recipe. I mean, just give me the recipe and I will do it. And I'm like, oh, some of that, taste it. What's it like? Put some of that in there. Well, that should do that. Well, cornstarch will thicken it up, and add a little more, water to it. That'll, and he's just like, no, the recipe says. But it's just, so we are completely incompatible cooking-wise. So we don't cook together because I swing it, throw it around, and he is very, just tell me what to do. Give me the recipe. I'd like some pictures. How much? Here we go. So, and I will, the kitchen can look like a wee bit of a tornado has been through. And I'm done. Mm-hmm.
So you would say it's the same how you approach your art making time? Interesting.
Yes.
So do you plan? Do you buy for certain things you want to cook, or you open your fridge and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this, and that, and then I see?
That's also why I'm not really allowed to do the grocery shopping. Because I will go through the grocery, and I'm like, look at that. We could try that. Wouldn't that be pretty? And I just end up, it's like 3 times what we'll ever use. The food pantry loved us every time it was time to clean it out, and we donate off because I'm like, look, we've never used this, but it would be good. And he's just like, okay. So he does the grocery shopping because I just go off the deep end of like, let's try this. If I like the shape of the bottle, if the name is good. I buy produce based on its shape or color, and he's just like, no.
It's funny though because I can see that and I like that too. But we used to do that in Germany and then we stopped and we recently started again here. That we get in CSA or what is it called? Yeah, it's like a box, like an organic, farm shared box. And it's funny because you don't know what you have in the box, right? And for me, it's even more interesting because now living in America, there are certain things that are different. Like veggies or like different kinds of tomatoes or different kinds of squash or whatever. So it's kind of like funny for me because you get the box and then I have to go from there and like I'm opening up and I'm like, ooh, what's this? Like a purple pepper. That's awesome. And a lot of times there are things in there that I'm like, I've never heard of it. What the hell is this, right? So then I have to Google, and I'm finding a little bit more out about it, and then I'm just trying. And it has been for my husband sometimes a little bit challenging, but it's fun. It brought me actually more joy back into like I like to cook, but it brought me a little bit more joy into it. But yeah, it's kind of for me too. It's like as if I get an art supply box and you're like, ooh, let's see what I can do with this, right? So
yeah, I mean, you just and you're like the different things with color and you're like, oh, that just turned out a funny color. like especially the purples and you're like, oh, and and it's so when your food is pretty. When you've got, like, especially with the peppers, and you've got yellow peppers and red peppers, right. Or have you seen the purple carrots? And
yeah, exactly. That's when you put, like, next to the cutlery, you put, like, an eye mask, and your husband is like, why do I have an eye mask next to it?
Actually, he actually does most of the cooking, too. I'm pretty spoiled. Because, yeah, but if he has a recipe, so a lot of times I'll find recipes and he'll cook them, but because I'm just like, oh, let's get this, because we found it was just, we could not stay on budget if I went to the grocery store. I'm like, let's try this, and, I'm a sucker for marketing, and if you made it multicolor, or if you had the right word on the package, I'd buy the more expensive whatever.
Oh yeah, I fall for that too. I'm like, oh, this is pretty, it's in a pretty packaging. This must taste good,
Or, do you ever buy stuff at the store for the packaging?
Yeah, I've done that. I see. There are similarities in some points. That's funny. I like that. Speaking of inspiration and like how you find colors in your food or whatever inspiring, right? How do you find inspiration? I know it's a weird question and sometimes, but people struggle about it a lot. And I think it's interesting to see what different approaches are to find inspiration.
It's usually when I'm not looking for it. Because if I'm looking for it, I can't see it. So the harder I look for inspiration, the less I see, which I think is so counterintuitive. Like I have to not look. And it's when I'm not looking and I go for a walk, it's like, oh, and all of a sudden some seed pod just is the most amazing shape, or the tree silhouettes. And very mundane things often give me the best inspiration. Because I'm seeing them a little differently for whatever reason, but I really have to not be. If I'm looking for it, basically, my muse has this sort of ornery relationship with me, and if I really want something, she's like, "No, don't get it." And if I'm a little too stressed out, she's like, "No, you haven't earned this today. No." And so I don't. I've got to sort of step back and calm down or de-stress, and that's why the bike ride, the walk, the whatever. My husband can now spot it when he's like, okay, what are you thinking about? Like, we'll be out, somewhere. And I'm like, well, look at those colors in that logo for that company. Or we were at dinner and I was admiring the poster on the wall of the fast food restaurant. I'm like, hey, check that out. And he's like, okay, where's it? So it's never when I'm looking for it.
Right.
So it's, I wish I could just like do it on command and say, okay, right now I need inspiration, pony up. But for me, I have to. So messes are another great source of inspiration. That's why I don't clean as much as I probably should. Because it's just left around there, and then it'll catch my eye, and I'm like, okay, we'll use this, and okay, that. So, and I like anything that justifies not cleaning.
Who doesn't, right? I mean, seriously. I didn't even try this time before the interview because I was like, whatever. People should be used to this mess already by now in the background. So, are you like I kind of like have an idea how it is, but let's see if you surprise me. So are you a person who goes into the studio at a certain time, works a certain amount of time, and then, or how's your day? Like, are you like a very, like, this is my work day and this is how I'm gonna do it, or not?
No, I if I have a deadline, I'm in there a lot more. You know, I work differently on the deadline because deadlines are different than play. But no, it's very, very organic, and it's very I spent a lot of years having to get up and go to work at a certain time, and that to me was the joy about being an artist. I'm like, I'm not setting an alarm clock. I'll get up when I'm ready. And so yeah, I do a lot of. Some days I really wish I had a structure and a schedule, but I've never been able to keep one.
That's funny.
So it's very random. Some days I will get like 6 days worth of work done in one afternoon. And then I can go 3 days and everything is a struggle and I can't seem to get anything done. Like, it's just very, who knows what the day holds. So.
Do you go in your studio even if you don't feel inspired and don't feel like you want to do that, or you just like go through it?
If I don't have, I mean, literally it's, if I don't have some art time, my personality shifts.
Uh-oh.
So my family was like, go. You need some time down there. Go to the studio. You need some time. It's almost like my meditation or my calming time, my whatever you want. It's like,
yeah.
So I have to do something. But whether or not it's really anything, it might just be slapping some color on a background, like nothing interesting at all. But I've just got to get some of it out. So yeah, almost every day I go down, and it helps because I live with it.
Right.
So the commute is easy.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't have besides financial reasons too, but sometimes I dream of having like a bigger studio where I can do really big canvases, and instead of having just one, I can work on different ones at the same time. But then I'm like, I would have to leave the house. There's a problem. I have to leave the house, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like, I'm really, it might be distracting sometimes, but I love having no commute, and I love being able to just, do whatever housework I have to do in between, or, so I'm not sure if I would be a great person to own a studio. And I have a lot of artist friends that have studios. Given their work they're doing, they really need one too, but and they're like, oh, we wouldn't get anything done if we hadn't had a studio, and they leave the house at 8:00 and bicycle to their studio and then come back, and I'm like, I don't know, I think I might not like this. So.
Well, you have to get out of your pajamas.
Exactly.
You have to put on shoes.
Exactly. And I'm a little bit different than you. Like, I actually set my alarm clock in the morning because I know I won't get anything done. Like, I'm a person where if I don't have a structured day, my day will just run away. I will be like diddle-daddle around, and then it's 5 hours later, and I'm like, what the hell just happened to my time, right? I don't know how it is. Maybe because I was a paralegal, I need the structure, and then, so I get up at a certain time, and, I know at 1:00 I do a lunch break usually, and, so there's all these, like, weird little things that I need to do for myself. But there are times where I'm sitting till like noon in my jammies, and doing stuff, or I might not leave the house till the evening when I'm like, oh, I might want to fill my fridge, So, and I really like that.
Well, do you ever get the thing where like you're just really in the zone? And, so, yeah, you have to go off and do, something with you have to, like, dinner or that kind of, but then you can go right back to it. And you can, It's not like you have to close everything up and you're just gone for a short time and then you can come back to it. Because to me, whenever it hits, I'm like, okay, it's time to make something. All right.
That's the reason why none of my clothes, actually, even like my nice clothes, like have not a spot of paint on them. Because like I would be like, let's say we're going to, I don't know, like let's say, and it happened. So it's not an exaggeration, but we were like due to go to the opera with friends in the city. And I would be literally standing there with a nice skirt and a nice top and then be like, oh, just this little piece of dot here. Like, that's a great idea. And it would be so great in this color. And then I lift up my shirt, my blouse, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I think there's no pajama for sure. There's almost no part of like pants, skirts, anything that has not somewhere a little bit of paint, and I actually sometimes even like manage to do that with my husband's stuff. So because it's like, oh, I'm going to do the laundry in between. It's like, no, not a good idea. So I really have to make sure I wash my hands as soon as I leave my studio before I touch anything in this apartment.
I found paint in my car. How did I get paint on the seat of my car? Like, crazies. I don't know how. I'm like, well, all right. It's my car. It's okay. But yeah. And you ever do the thing where you're like, I can't do it? Hands can't come clean right now. Like,
it's always a good excuse. So that was a really fun talk. I really loved talking to you, and I hope will actually see you in person soon again. But before we end the interview, is there anything you would like to add? Are there like classes, books, workshops? Mind you, we are recording this right now in actually what month is it? It's September, guys. So it's really funny. You see us in like September gear. I'm still tanned. Like, this will change. But yeah. Is there anything that's coming up now that it is December?
Wow. December really came up quickly. It was just like it was just September. Really, the main thing that I would love for people to check out is my Permission to Play workshop, and it's basically how do you get to the play. And my journey was very much about how to rediscover that for myself. Mm-hmm. And so it's an introduction to mixed media. It's an introduction to play, and it's definitely no stress. So if people are interested in play, that's waiting for them, and it's a free workshop.
It's an online workshop.
Yes, it's online.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
So check out Carolyn's website. I will put it into the end of the video and also on my website when I post about it. And yeah, we can't wait to see what Carolyn is coming up with. We don't even know yet. I mean, I don't know yet. The deadline is not up yet. Do you know?
Oh, I know.
Is it done yet?
No, that's why I'm not saying it, because if it doesn't go as planned, then I'm going to alter it a little bit, or you're going to see how it didn't go as planned. But I've got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be, and it has to do with play. But
woohoo!
Yeah, so anyway, I'll just keep it as a secret for now.
So just don't sweat yet, people. By the time you see this, I already watched her video like 40 times. But that's my favorite part of Creative Jumpstart, is actually seeing what everyone came up with. And I'm always super excited to put it up. So I can't wait to have you at Creative Jumpstart. Don't forget to sign up through Caroline's link. And yeah. Thank you for being part of it, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.